Hey everybody, I'm Bob Bakert, and I'll just give you a quick update with me, and then obviously our special guest today is Scott Henderson. Yes, on March the 8th, I had a heart attack. I was sick in the month of January with some kind of crazy cold from hell, and then I got pneumonia in February, and I had a heart attack in March. I've
Yeah.
had three procedures, and I'm still recovering. And in cardiac rehab, and the prognosis is good. I don't have any heart damage, thank God, and it was a big one. So, you know, somebody's looking out for me. With that being said, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see Scott, and I'm glad that he was willing to be my first I guess person. We'll go with that, to talk to.
Can't think of anything better.
Post,
I'm
yeah,
glad you're feeling better. 'Cause, we've been talking obviously over the phone over the last months.
yeah,
When I was on tour, we were talking before the tour.
right.
So I knew all about the health problems you've been having and just wishing you the best. But I'm glad you're here. And
Yeah,
man, you
I'm
look
back.
great. I don't, you would never know from looking at you that anything happened.
That's what my doctor said. He said, you don't look like a guy that had a heart attack. My cardiologist. I said, well, I feel like that guy. Listen. The funniest damn thing, and this is going to be about you, but the funniest damn thing about it is that my weight was 5'10", 150 pounds. Work out every day, exercise, eat right. Don't drink, don't smoke. Um, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I'm a quote unquote, on paper, I'm an extremely healthy guy. And a doctor said, well, that's why you lived, that's why you made it, because whatever. So, but he said to me when I was in there last time, a couple of weeks ago, he said, well, you just don't look like a guy that, I see people all day long. That's what I do. I said, you don't look like anybody that ever walks in this office. You're looking good. So, let's hope that the rest of the doctors all say that I should be coming back better than ever, and blah 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 blah, all the stuff you want to hear.
Good.
That being said, um, let's talk about you.
I'd rather talk about you, but whatever.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not that interesting. I mean,
I don't know if I am either. So
you you know, I got to tell you, man. I was talking to a mutual friend of ours today, Bill Hart,
sure. Yeah.
and I know that Billy he studied with you,
Yeah. Yeah.
back in the day, and you guys became friends and out in LA and all that. And uh, Bill has been a resident here in Atlanta for quite some time, and gigs all around. And I when you sent me a copy of Carnival, I actually forwarded him to him to listen to, because I didn't think you would mind. And
No.
he was like blown away. He said this is, it's a great record, and it came out in February 2nd. We were supposed to do an interview commensurate with when the record came out, and that's kind of what this sort of is. So let's talk a lot about Carnival and all of that. Um, it's a fantastic record.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, it's a fantastic record. Um, you know, Bill said to me today, I said, he said, well, Scott's one of the few guys out there, and it's just a few, that actually does improvise. A lot of guys kind of play the same licks they've been playing for years in different places and all that kind of thing. But
Well, I think I do that to a point. We all have our
our safe
vocabulary.
places. Yeah.
I mean, we can't reinvent ourselves every time we pick up the instrument, but I am trying to approach the guitar these days from a more melodic way than, say, I used to back in the day, where it's more lick oriented. I'm
Yeah.
trying to play in a more melodic way, for lack of better words, less notes, and hopefully get to the more important ones, and just think about my phrasing and my tone more than anything else. And I
I
think
was
that
watching the
gets me.
video that you did. It's on YouTube. It's a solo that you're taking with just you and your drummer.
Oh yeah, yeah, I saw that. That's one of the few things I've left up on YouTube, only because it sounds like it was recorded with a decent mic and not an iPhone. So I left it up there.
Yeah. But that that whole process of the what you're playing in there is, it feels very, very improvised, very in the moment. Um, you know, and it's creative, it's different. It's not I haven't heard 100,000 people play all those licks before, you know. I mean, it just, you know, and the phrasing, the timing, you know, all of that stuff is just, you know, it's Scott Henderson, you know. I mean, you got your own thing,
Oh,
uh, for sure. But you know, the thing that when I listen to your stuff, the thing that I don't think most people understand about, you know, most people understand, you know, the speed and the licks and all this kind of crap. But I don't think they understand the composer that you are and the arranger that you are, specifically to your records.
big part of what I do, and I'm pretty meticulous about it. But you know, I, there's a lot of great albums out there that, I mean, even if the compositions are good, not a whole lot of time went into production or arranging, and that's fine too. I mean, I have no problem. Some of those are my favorite records because they're raw and I just love them. But I also, there's a part of me, maybe it comes from being a big band arranger when I was young,
Right,
but just, having a palette to work with that includes all these different sounds. It's like today we have access to so many sounds, and what I love about what I do is that it's not MIDI, it's all processed guitar, so it'd be easy just to delve into a synthesizer and start scrolling through patches, but that's been done, and that I don't want to be part of that world, you
right.
know and so what I'm trying to do is, maybe some of the sounds end up sounding like a little bit keyboardish, but it's all guitar. And I'm kind of proud of that all these sounds
Oh, lost
are
you.
not a MIDI keyboard, so I'm that's something that I take a lot of pride in, and that and also that I have a lot of fun with, because I love making my guitar sound different and using those different textures in different parts of the songs in arrangement. So it's a lot of fun, man. I just enjoy doing it. That's why I'm doing it. It's just because it's fun. If it wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it.
Well, you know, you know, when you take a solo, it's obvious that you're playing a guitar solo. I mean, you know, you're. I mean, it can be horn influence or keyboard influence and all that, but you're playing a Suhr, you know, super strat, you know, with the tone that, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then, but the bed that you've made, you know, the big arrangement that you've made on guitars, I mean, it's multi-textural. It's not only harmonic, it's the tone qualities of the different voicings that you're using that give it a almost a guitar orchestral kind of feel. Does that make sense? Is that,
Yeah, no, it does. It's exactly what I'm trying to do.
yeah,
Just kind of like the same way that Donald Fagen, he could, easily do any one of those tunes as a piano trio and it would sound great. But he's got a horn section, he's got a million singers, he's got, you know, all these different guitar players, and he's just fully realizing the music, And I sort of figure if I'm gonna spend so much time on a composition, I want to fully realize it, you know. And there may be a time where I just write some songs and just decide to do them guitar trio with no layering and no overdubs. It's just guitar, bass, and drums, one
right,
track guitar, and that's it. And if the music warrants that, I would do that. But I felt like this music that I wrote for Carnival had a
right.
lot of possibilities for different sounds and different arrangements and different layerings, and so I just said, yeah, let's go for it, And I did the same thing on Vibe Station and People Mover. I just felt like the music could use as much, I guess, textural help as it can get.
Oh yeah.
So you know, why not? What else have
Oh,
I got to do?
well, I love it, man. I don't know. I love it. I mean, that's what I was trying to say. I think that people don't, you know, people don't realize what composer and arranger that you are. And
Well, it does take a long time. I mean, you know, one of the hardest things is just coming up with sounds that I haven't used before on previous albums, and a lot of turning knobs and a lot of, you know, I have to say, you know, some of it has very little to do with playing, and that's the one thing that's the one negative about it, is that sometimes I spend literally days looking for sounds and just experimenting. I'm just like, I'm not getting to play my guitar enough, you know, but that's what happens when you wear the producer's hat instead of the guitar player's hat. You gotta go into that area. And then there's the whole mix and mastering and the whole thing, so
yeah, you know, I
separated from your instrument.
I
But
know that, you know, you're behind the curtain and you see all that and you know what's going into all that. But us guys on this side, you know, sitting in the seats, it doesn't feel that at all. I mean,
well, I'm glad.
you hear, yeah, you hear the
That's
texture,
good.
you hear the textures, you hear, I mean, people that, you know, your audience, if you will. I mean, they're hopefully hearing all that and appreciating all of that. But what makes it accessible to your average guitar guy, you know, me included, you know, is that it's a guitar.
Yeah.
You know, it's a guitar. It's a guy doing. I mean, the bottom line on all this is it's a guy doing cool shit on a guitar.
Yeah, at the end of the day, hopefully it just sounds like a band playing on stage,
Yeah,
and sounds as organic as it can be. I mean, all the songs were recorded live in the
yeah,
studio. I mean, we all played together. We had played these tunes for months and tours. So when
right,
we went into the studio, it was just like another gig. So it was very live, and there is a lot of interplay between the musicians, and that's the only way I would have it. You know, I don't think I would want to do a record that wasn't like that, because that's the essence of what we do as jazz musicians, or as whatever you want to call us. But yeah, on a technical level, yeah, the audience doesn't see all the knob twirlage that goes into making a record like this. And
but you know, there's something else going on. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah,
that's why it doesn't sound like just, you know, rhythm set. You know, it's
yeah.
you know, there's you might not be able to identify it, you know, some people can, you know, but you might be able to identify it. But there's something about this that you listen to it, you go, there's something about this that's really special. This is different.
Well, there are people, I'm not going to put anybody down, but there are a lot of musicians whose experience with their own music doesn't go any further than the notes that they played.
Right,
In other words, they go into the studio, they play the notes, they walk out and let all the engineers and the technical people handle that.
right.
I'm opposite of that.
Yeah,
I'm there from the very first note that's written
right.
to the very last stage of the mastering process. I'm there full on, you
Doing
know,
it.
and doing it. Yeah, because to me it's as essential as the notes that I played.
Oh,
So
well,
it's
the proof's in the pudding. I mean, you
yeah,
know, you just got to
but
listen to
you
the
know,
record.
I don't have anything against guitar players who don't do that. I could name many guitar players who I'm sure you know, who, you know, like they have a really good tone on one record and they have not so good tone on another record. And it's because they just let the engineer and the technical people handle it. And they're not a part of them. They don't even go to their own mix. And I know a lot of guitar players who are very good players. They don't even go to their own mix. They send
Right,
their music, or they send the 24 track master out to somebody to have it mixed. They're not even there at their own mix.
right,
So I cannot even imagine what that would be like, because I'm so part of you know, the whole process of, you know, the mix, the mastering, everything. You know, obviously with as many layers as there are on my records, if I wasn't at the mix, it would be a disaster. So I
right,
have to be there to make sure that everything is put in the right place, you know, left and right, and put in the right place volume wise and tone wise. A lot of guitar tracks, every single track has its own reverb, like a
right,
different reverb for each track to
right,
further separate it. There's a lot to it. Very technical shit, you know, but it has to be done to make the music sound good. Otherwise it would just be mud. If
right.
That's why I hire a great engineer like Alan Hertz to come and mix, because he hears things that I don't. Like he'll say, you know, Scott, you can't make every guitar sound fat. That's just not going to work because it's all going to be mud at the end. You got to thin out this guitar. You've got to take like, you know, 500 or 250
Yeah.
or 1K or whatever out of this guitar and put it over here and yeah, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
He's just really good at frequencies. He's really good with reverbs. He's really good with drum and bass sounds, which I'm not good. I don't trust myself to make a record without a, you know, I would not trust myself with bass and drums, but you know, the combination of both me and Alan in the studio is what makes it work. And he's
Right.
so good, and I rely so much on him and his expertise at frequencies and layering that, you know, it all works out in the end, hopefully.
Well, like I said, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, the stuff sounds great. I mean, it really sounds great. I mean,
Well,
I've been
I mean,
listening.
ultimately, hopefully the music is good. We're talking a lot about technical stuff, but if the music is good and it reaches people and they enjoy listening to it, that's all that counts.
Well, that's the point I was trying to make earlier, that you know, like behind the screen, you know all that's going on. In front of the screen, we might not know all that's going on, but we definitely know something different is going on, something of quality, something of value. And that the bottom line on it is, you know, you can have the greatest production in the world, but if you got a shit song, it's going to be a shit track,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Well,
your tunes are really, really great. I mean,
oh,
they're,
thanks, man. I mean, I have done a lot of research and, you know, like I always say I may not know how to do it, but I know good composers when I hear them. So I listen to a lot of Wayne Shorter. I listen to a lot of my
yeah,
favorite composers, and hopefully that inspires me to, you know, I mean, those guys, it's like you're talking to me and you're interviewing me, but if I was interviewing Wayne Shorter, I would be, oh man, I would have so many questions that I'll unfortunately, those questions will never be answered and probably would never be answered even if I did get to talk to him, because
yeah,
so much of what we do is not science, it's art. And I
right.
could ask Wayne Shorter, why did you go to that chord? And he probably wouldn't know. He would probably say, you know, something very like Wayne,
Yeah,
you would talk, you know, he would say something like, because Saturn was in its seventh something.
of course. Everybody knows
You
that.
know, one time I was at Zalman's house and he was playing this standard, I think was There Is No Greater Love. And he was playing these otherworldly chords behind the melody. And I did something stupid. I asked Joe, um, Joe, what are those chords you're using? And he just said, you know better than to ask me something like that. It's like, you know, if you want to know what those chords are, get out your iPhone,
Yeah,
turn it on record, tape it, and go transcribe it, because he's not going to tell you,
yeah,
because he probably doesn't know himself. He's just totally going with the flow and totally going in an intuitive way and playing what he hears. You know, he was never one to call A minor 7 flat 9. I mean, that
right.
meant nothing to him. It was a sound, you know, and so when you're talking about music on that level, when I compose, I hardly ever know the chord that I'm actually playing. I'm just playing sounds, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's
Maybe in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, you know, that voicing is pretty kind of close to a B minor or whatever, but it's probably got some other note in it that doesn't belong in the B minor chord structure. It's just a sound.
it's
And
just a
I'm
sound. Yeah.
totally writing by ear and not using much theory, not really using anything I learned in school, except 5 can go to 1 sometimes. It's valuable to know, I guess. But
Well, what Wayne Krantz said to me, he said it took me 10 years to get all that shit out of my playing.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
It's just like it's so much art, you
right?
know, and so little science involved in it. And it's fun to do, but at the same time, when I sit down and think, okay, I'm about to write a tune, knowing that I have no idea what's going to come out, and no clue until, you know, maybe weeks from when I start. And it's just it's interesting. One of the things that's really different, um, might be an interesting story, but
Go.
During lockdown, there wasn't much to do. You know, most people, most musicians will tell you, well, I used lockdown to practice. And, you know, I didn't use lockdown to practice like most musicians did. What I did was I felt like I had a very bad weak point in my playing, is that I have a lot of harmony in my head, and
Right.
I've worked with some of the greatest harmonic players in the world, like
Oh yeah.
Zawinul, Chick Corea, but I don't feel like I have instant access to that harmony on my instrument like the players I look up to.
Right.
Like,
Or the players that you
here's
played with.
something in my head, but I'm not sure where it is on my instrument. So I spent that whole period of lockdown just playing solo guitar, not because I really have any hopes of being a great solo guitar player like Ted Green or Philip Degree or somebody like that, or Lenny
Right.
Breau, but just so that I could play and start with nothing, and let's see where it goes, and let me see if I can find those sounds I'm looking for that are in my head. So I spent the whole lockdown doing that,
So
and I
that's
got
where
better at it, because if you practice
yeah,
something for a while, you improve. So most of the songs on Carnival were written in real time, like not the whole tune, but sections here and there. So I would just play by myself and record what I played, and then go back and listen to what I played and use those sections that I recorded as parts of the tunes.
right.
And rather than the usual sort of like trial and error, hunt and peck process of elimination, you know, duh, duh, like Beethoven, da, 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 no, da, 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 no, da, 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 no, da, 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 da. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I
let's
like
use
that
that
one.
one. Yeah. So, you know, I tried to not do that as much as I could, and just play spontaneously in a more organic way, and use, so basically what I'm trying to say is Carnival came out of more real-time playing than
Right.
any of the previous albums have. And so, you know, I guess in that way, having the lockdown to you know, to improve that part of my musicianship, that helped for
I think
sure.
this is the I think it's the most organic of the records that I've heard you make in the last, 3 or 4. I
I
mean,
hope,
yeah,
yeah,
no,
I
it's
hope.
really it's really, it's got a lot of humanness to it, I guess, is what I don't have a better word than that.
I just hope I can do another one.
Oh, yeah, you'll be able to do
Where
another
it
one.
goes from here, because I'm about to start writing again, and I
You
guess I'm just going to sit down and do the same thing and just see if I can't. I don't want to write the same song 100 times. That's every composer's nightmare, worst nightmare, that you're writing the same song 100 times.
you know,
But
one of the things that I hear you doing, one of the things I hear you doing, and I think you've even spoken to this in the past, is you're almost in some of the stuff that you do in the background, in the track is almost 10 note. Um, like
oh yeah,
you'll
it is.
Yeah,
It
it's 10 note. It's not like your typical guitar, dyad, triad, whatever. It's the voicings that you come up with are full on piano voicings, and even in
they
that,
can be in certain tunes.
yeah,
Yeah, not in every tune, but in certain tunes, I'll have the original song the way it was written with just a regular guitar part, and then I'll add like what would be an upper right hand keyboard part,
right, yeah.
like an upper voicing of 3 or 4
And
notes.
and
That
does that plays into your different reverbs or different tracks and different
yeah,
guitars
definitely.
and
You want to
all
keep
of
those
that?
separated. Yeah,
Keep that space. Well, that
yeah.
I mean, I don't. It, it's pure guitar is everything. And so the instruments on the record, Carnival, are bass, drums, and guitar. That's it, right?
Yeah, there. Scott Kinsey did play a few little steel drum things
Yeah.
and a couple electronic percussion things, and then I
But
had a play on it.
everything we're listening to is bass, drums,
Yeah,
and
it's
guitar.
guitar. Yeah, it's either, but they're different guitars. You know, I used
Oh
a
yeah,
sitar on some. I used an electric sitar on a few tunes. I
right.
used a really cool Dan Electro 59 resonator guitar on a
Yeah.
few tunes, just playing some slide. I used my Les Paul on a few tunes, and
I
you
didn't know
know,
you owned a Les Paul.
yeah, yeah. In fact, all the rhythm guitar on COVID Vaccination, that's the song that's dedicated to Tower of Power.
Yeah.
All the rhythm guitar parts are Les Paul because I wanted to get as close to Bruce Conte's tone as I could. And his rhythm guitar tone in Tower of Power was always a Les Paul, but in the middle position between the
Right.
neck and the middle. And I mean, sorry, between the neck and the bridge.
Right.
And so in that middle position, you get some beautiful rhythm guitar parts. So that's what I did. I was just trying to get as close to Bruce's tone as I possibly could. And then the horns, every horn is a different pedal. Like instead of just playing the chords like I do live, I did a big band version of it, or horn version of it, and
It is
I
so time consuming.
it is, but it was fun.
It sounds great.
For the trumpet, it's a distortion pedal, wah wah.
Oh, I lost you there for a second.
The alto sax was one fuzz tone because it's more of a raspy sound.
Say what the trumpet was again. We had a breakup.
Oh, the trumpet was like a distortion pedal with a wah wah kind of half open to
Okay, yeah,
get that nasal thing.
yeah.
And then the saxes are kind of raspy, so fuzzes work good for saxes. So I had one fuzz tone for the alto, a different fuzz tone, and I had fuzz tone very hard tone.
I don't know why you're breaking up all of a sudden.
Oh, is this better? Sorry.
No, I don't know. I don't know if it's if it's the distance to the mic or something that's going on in the universe with
Universe probably.
yeah,
But
well, we're speaking of Saturn being in the seventh house and all that
yeah.
you know.
But and then the Barry saxophone was the low E tuned way down. And then I have this amazing pedal. It's called a Trombetta Robotone.
Yeah.
It really does sound like a trombone. It's amazing. If you hit the string really hard, it kind of flutters. It makes that fluttery sound like a trombone makes. It's really
Right.
cool. So yeah, so that was my horn section. And
That's really cool.
then I kind of had to study Tower of Power to see how the horns are mixed, because I was really surprised that it's very spread left to right. Trumpet's way far left. One of the saxophones is way far right. So they're very spread apart from left to right. And I was like, I didn't know they did that. So that's what I did with my little horns. And it sounds big, when you do that.
Because obviously if you go and see them, that's not the way it's.
Yeah. Because you see them, they're all there on the left side of the stage.
Right.
So you think, well, that's probably how they record it. But no, they're very spread hard left and hard right. So it's a very huge sound. And also we dried up that tune so that it's not so wet. There's not so much reverb on that tune. So it sounds more like that sound. Also, Travis Carlton loaned his P bass to Romain, who plays a jazz bass, but that P bass is the Rocco Prestia sound. And so that P bass really made it sound even more like Tower of Power. So yeah, it was really fun to do that tribute to them, because I have been such a big fan for many years, and it was great to get to play. Felt like playing one of their tunes, kind of.
Many moons ago, I was at a NAMM show, and there was one of those NAMM jams, and and it was held at the Orange County arena, I guess, to the hockey rink or something like that. And Sam Kennison was the MC.
I love that guy.
And it was Tower of Power was the band, Eddie Van Halen, what's his name, Billy Idol.
Mhm.
Oh, it was like the NAMM jam from hell, and Tower of Power just annihilated the place.
Oh man, they played at MI where I teach,
Yeah,
and MI back in the day, there was a lot of metal going on at the time.
right.
Metal players pretty much only listen to metal. They don't listen to much else, right? It's a lifestyle, kind of the clothes, the whole thing. It's like if you're in that world, you don't really leave it. But when a lot of the metal guys heard Tower of Power, they were kind of blown away that something could be so powerful that's so far removed from what they do, you know. So they were impressed. Like they were like, holy shit, man, that band kicked ass. And you know, it's not metal. It's
Yeah,
something.
I people that say to me, "Well, I don't like jazz." I said, "Well, no, you don't like what people are telling you is jazz."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I can think of a million reasons why people don't like jazz
We
because a
all
lot
could.
of it's boring as hell.
Yeah,
So,
right. We all could. But I'm just saying that when you hear a band like Tower of Power, you got to
yeah,
experience that. You know, you can't
yeah.
you
They
can't
blow
just
your head off. There's no doubt about
yeah,
it.
you got to
Yeah,
you can't tell people what that's like.
yeah, yeah.
It's got to experience it. So you're just back from like traveling the world for about the last 3 months.
Hmm.
You're out on tour. You're everywhere there is to go. You want to talk about that experience a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. We had a lot of great shows. It was especially, I mean, I can't talk about touring unless I talk about the actual life. You know, it's not just the music on stage, but it's what you have to do to get to the stage.
But it's
But
somebody said, "I play for free. You pay me to travel."
that is exactly the truth. That if I couldn't have said it better,
Oh,
because that is exactly how I feel about it. But you know, the part in the van is so easy because you know you just hop in the van and drive 3 or 4 hours to the next show. Even if it's a 6, it's not bad. It's just a van, and it's you know
right.
you whatever. It's easy. But once the flying started around the last 1/4 of the tour, we had to fly. We flew to Spain, flew to Athens. Then from Athens, we had 3 or 4 flights within Spain. Then flew to Athens. Then flew to China. We had 3 or 4 flights within China. Then we flew to India. And let me tell you, man, the airlines just fuck it all up.
Yeah,
Like they take all the joy out of
yeah.
what we do.
I don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough money on the planet to get me to do that. But
You
that's
know what? Even if you fly business class, you still have to wait in the same lines, and you still have to fight with them about getting your instrument on the plane, and you still charge this ridiculous amounts of money for. You probably won't believe this, but my travel agent told me this last time, and I'm living proof of it, that they're charging $400 an extra bag.
how much?
$400. Like it used to be 75, then 100. Now about maybe a third to maybe even half of the major airlines are now raising their prices from 100 an extra bag to 400 an extra bag. So if you're a guitar player who has a closed suitcase and a pedal suitcase, you just lost $400 a flight, you know. And it's unbelievable. It's just it's criminal, you know. So my travel agent told me this is going to knock a lot of bands out of flying, you know,
Oh, yeah.
because almost all bands, you know, they're going to have an extra suitcase for their gear, the closed suitcase and an extra gear suitcase, and this is going to really mess them up.
Yeah,
So
that'll change a lot of tours for sure.
it will definitely change some tours. And she said that possibly by next year or a year after, it's going to be all the airlines.
Yeah, but you're breaking up again, Scott. I don't know why.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So
The well, let's talk about the music end of it. So the audiences.
the audiences were great. I mean, we had really fun shows. We had mostly sold out shows,
Oh,
and the audiences were mostly very energetic and really, you know, waiting to hear the music. And it was so much fun. I can't even tell you. Uh, we had a great time. I mean, it was a great tour. I
yeah.
felt like there was only a few what I would consider bad nights,
Hmm.
and almost 100% of the time, I would say definitely 100% of the time, when we have a bad night, it's always about the sound.
Yeah.
It's never about us. It's about how do we get past this awful sounding stage
Right.
where, like, there's some stages where you play where it's all hard surfaces with low ceilings and boomy, boomy, boomy bass, where I can't hear a note Romain is playing on his bass. All I hear is and it's really loud. Even when you try your very best to play soft, you just,
Yeah.
because I mean, Archie is not what I would consider a loud drummer at all.
Hmm.
But in a room, some of the rooms that we played where we had bad nights, I would say the only way you could have a good night in a room like that is if the drummer played brushes and you played that soft, which just that kind of style of drumming just doesn't fit my music.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So you try to play as soft as you can at a reasonable softness, but even then, the softest note is so loud it gives you a headache.
Well, yeah, and we're talking to a guy that would put a Marshall stack in his bathroom to get
Yeah,
his tone.
yeah. It's just some rooms are really hard, but we only encountered maybe 2 or 3 of those. Most of the times the stages were nice, soundmen were really good, and we had a nice sound on stage. And anytime you have a good sound on stage, you're going to play good.
Yeah, you just feel it. You just feel it.
Yeah. If you don't have any major problems, it's going to
Yeah.
be a good night.
Are
Because
you taking your pedal board with you and
yeah,
and
just the pedal board, and I have an exact copy, a replica of my amp and cabinet here.
oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, but when we fly, I have to rent amps. But I rent a Marshall JCM 2000 and a
Right.
cabinet with greenbacks. And it's fine. It's like it's not quite as sweet sounding as my Suhr amp, but it
Right.
does sound. I can have a fine playing night with a Marshall,
Yeah, well,
unless it's completely trashed and the tubes are shot. But
well that
most
never
of the
happens.
time when you rent them, they're in okay condition.
Yeah, well, that's good. Um, I you know this has been fun. Thanks. I
Yeah, man,
appreciate
my
that.
pleasure.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. So how's Carnival doing? Are you getting out of it what you wanted?
It's doing really well. In fact, it was the #1 selling jazz record on Amazon for a few weeks, so that was cool. That never happened to me before. And yeah, no, it's doing really well. It's selling every day. My distributor, Amplified Distribution, they're very happy. And yeah, man, I'm ready to write another album and get back to work and do it again.
You know what? It's a great record.
Well, thanks so much, man. I know that when I hear that from you, I know that you're not just casually listening to it. I know that you're really listening hard.
I'm
Like,
trying. I am
well,
trying.
when you make a record that's really detailed like
Right.
this, and there are a lot of nuances going on in the
Yeah.
record, and when you hear somebody say that they've listened to it multiple times and they're digging some of the things that are very subtle on the
Right.
album, I know they're really listening because I know from my experiences working with Zawinul, he always used to tell me, put things in there that are really low in the mix. It's
Yeah.
like they do something, they add a vibe, and you may not know it's there, but you would miss it if it was gone. You know,
That's what I was trying to say earlier, that
yeah,
that the when I say layering now I'm using layering in a slightly different context, that all the stuff that's going on that is not in your face, but
right.
it,
It's
it, it
subtle.
there's a reason. I mean, if it was gone, it would be gone,
Yeah,
And like the Beatles records are a great example of that. I mean,
yeah,
there,
exactly. And so are Led Zeppelin.
yeah.
And
I mean, it's like did you hear the duck in that track? Like they got a song with a duck in it. You
right.
can't hear, you don't know
Yeah.
the duck is there, but there's a freaking duck in it. And I don't know.
I swear I listened to some Led Zeppelin tracks and I hear stuff that I didn't realize was there before. You know,
That's back when when people would take 6 months to make a record,
yeah.
and they
Well,
cost.
I mean, it's taken me about that long. I spend
Yeah.
that long, and I listen to the songs every day, and I think, it's maybe something could go in that spot. Let me really quickly lay down this idea that Kinsey hit me to that I thought was kind of cool. He
Yeah.
just pulls up a sound, right?
Hmm.
And then he plays through the tune all the way through the tune on that particular sound,
Yeah.
whatever he's inspired to improvise, right?
Right.
And then he'll go through it and just pick the primo little tiny moments, even if there's only one or two
Yeah.
with that sound, and leave them.
Yeah.
And then he'll get another sound completely different and just improvise with that sound, or whatever that sound inspires him to play. And then he'll improvise with that sound through the whole tune. And then he'll go through what he played and only use just a moment here or there with that sound. And it's so organic because it's all improvised, right?
There's a couple of schools of music, and I love them all, but they're definitely different. There's the guys that go in to the studio and 1, 2, 3 play. 3 hours later, they've got a record.
Yeah.
You know,
Old
there's no,
school.
and it's fun to hear that. I mean, you know,
Yeah, I love those records.
yeah,
They're
so do
great.
I listen. There's a lot of my friends make records that way, and I really like what they're doing. You know, I get it.
Me too.
But then, as you like to say, I'll never forget it because it's a great quote. You know, I don't, you know, theater is live and my albums are movies, you know,
Yeah, that's
and,
that's what it is.
and
Yeah.
that's your approach. And so when when one sits down to, um, you know, to listen to a Scott Henderson record, the more they know about movie making, the more enjoyment they're going to get.
I guess that's probably true,
Yeah. You know, I
especially with
mean,
the takes, because I usually get it right by about the 50th take. I get it right.
you see, and today in today's world, you know, I mean, the fact that you're the player, you're the producer, you're the guy, you know, you don't have to, you know, when's he going to get here? You know,
Yeah.
he's got to leave
No,
because
I
he's got
hear
to
you,
go
man.
there and there. I mean, the fact that you are the guy and
Yeah.
self-contained, and that you can do that.
Well,
Uh,
I do theater every night.
yeah,
It's not like I don't like theater. I'm doing
no,
theater every night
I
for
know you are.
3 months.
I know
You
you
know,
are.
so it's like if I'm going to do a record, I don't want to just have it be like, oh, here's another night on the gig.
So
Like,
how do you play that stuff live? I guess it just comes across, huh?
oh yeah. Well, the thing is that when you play the main guitar part,
It's
people
there.
hear it.
Yeah.
And we've got Lena playing with us, who's a great guitar player,
Mhm.
and she's playing those auxiliary parts
Okay.
and soloing too sometimes too.
Yeah.
So really, it's not the Scott Henderson trio anymore. It's a quartet now
There's
because
more of
Lena's
you.
playing
Okay.
with it,
Okay.
and she's playing some of those like upper voicings,
Yeah.
right? So her website is lenamostalska.com if you want to check her out. It's
Spell that for me.
it's Lena, Lina,
Yeah.
Mastalska, Mastalska.com.
Well, that's a new one on me. So
Yeah.
I'll
And
definitely be checking around.
great guitar player. She plays her ass off, and she can, I mean, she can play jazz, she can play blues, slide, all this stuff. But mainly what she's doing in our band, she doesn't play on every tune, but she's playing on some tunes that really need those extra voicings that really fills them out.
Yeah.
But even without those parts, people would recognize the songs. They may not sound as full as they do on the record.
Right. But the
It's
melody.
like Led Zeppelin too. I
Yeah.
mean, when
But
you hear all the layers that Jimmy Page was doing on the records, and they
right.
were still playing that music live, no
When Paul
problem.
McCartney sits down and plays "Let It Be" on one piano, you know it's
Yeah,
going to be.
sure.
Yeah.
You're still gonna know what
You
tune it
get,
is.
yeah, you're gonna know
Yeah.
it too. So one more last thing I wanted to say to you. So, um, in your playing technique, your right leg is very involved.
Yeah. I'm trying to kind of, that's in a way, it's kind of a bad habit. I'm trying to not do that as much because that's just a volume
I know
control.
it's a volume control,
Yeah.
and
And
you're almost like a dancer up there.
well, sometimes I feel like, I mean, there is a part of me that feels like I'm either too loud or I'm not loud enough. And I tend to ride that a little bit too much. The truth is I play better when I just don't have my foot on the knob. I play more relaxed
Right.
because I'm not involved in thinking, am I too loud? It's just when I play at home, I don't have a volume knob. I just play.
Right.
And it feels like to me that I play more relaxed when I don't have
Right.
my foot on
So
that
for
knob.
people that don't know, Scott's got a foot volume control, but it's not a pedal control like you're used to seeing, like a show bud. It's actually a rotary pot, and he's moving his foot, like this, left and right, to turn volume up and down, and it's unique. I've never seen anybody else.
It's called an SVC. You can buy it online. It's made
Yeah.
by Exotic. And it's called an SVC. It's subtle volume control.
Okay.
Because when you use a volume pedal,
Right.
it's like it's very hard to move it just a tiny little bit.
Yeah, those pots are
You're
all
gonna
that.
you're gonna move it just your foot.
Yeah,
The action of your foot is gonna press it down so people can hear
right.
move. But when
Yeah,
you've got one that moves this way, you can turn it up just a tiny little bit.
yeah.
But
And
in a way, it's a trap because it makes you very picky about
yeah,
how loud you are, and I don't really want to be that guy. So that's why I'm trying not to use it
yeah.
as much. But it is very helpful. Like, okay, I'm a little bit too loud. Let me turn down for this section.
Well, and the other thing is if you play a note and you say, "Oh, I need a little more gain there to get it
Yeah,
out," you can do it.
yeah,
You know, it's
yeah. I mean,
very easy.
a lot of people that I know are using that pedal. Jennifer Batten's using it. Quite a few people that I know, my friends,
Yeah.
like it more than the traditional
Oh
volume
yeah.
pedal.
Well, the audio taper is very different. It looks like
Yeah,
it looks like
it's actually really nice when you want to control your volume in not such a drastic way
right.
like a traditional volume.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you can't do sweeps with a knob that turns
Right.
around that way. You'd need a real volume pedal to do a sweep.
Right.
But, some people have both.
And so you've been playing your John Suhr model for like ever.
Yeah,
You
great
know,
guitar. Love
yeah,
it.
phenomenal guitar, 16-inch radius.
Yeah, it's basically like having a vintage Strat that's easy to play.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I'm nothing against Fender because Stratocasters are great, but for me, the small frets
Right.
and the curved radius on the neck, I
Mhm.
just never could get used to it.
No, it's tough. In fact, I I kick myself on a regular basis for selling the one I had a Scott Henderson model.
Mhm.
I had that in a Fender Jeff Beck custom shop, and they were both in white. They were like
Oh, cool.
brother and sister. They were really cool.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was playing a lot more. I was in jazz school at the time in my
Hmm.
60s, and I was playing. Hang on a second. I was playing a whole lot on something like this, you know,
Hmm.
and that was what I was spending a lot of time with, and and I don't know. I just looked over there one day and said, "Man, I'm really not playing that guitar," and I had a good offer on it and let it go. And I go, "Why the f did I do that?" Because now I really
Well,
want
you
it.
can always buy another when they're making plenty of them.
Oh, I know, I know, I know. If I was, yeah, no, they're
You know,
fantastic instruments, and
they're great, and the best thing about them is that they don't hum.
no,
And you can play single coils without hum, and that's like a big deal to me. I got a little bit. I'm not saying I don't ever use humbuckers because I still do sometimes, but live in a trio, especially in a trio situation, single coils just work better for me.
well, they're more
And
dynamic,
they're more dynamic. They have a more full range sound. There's more
right?
low end. It's just I don't know. It to me it's a better guitar for a trio situation. And
There's a reason why
um,
Hendrix and SRV and
yeah,
everybody
I
else
mean
under the
it's
sun,
it's a classic sound, and I
Jeff
love it.
Beck,
But the hum is really a drag, and I never did like the sound of the noiseless pickups very much. And I've tried all the different brands, and when Suhr came out with this noiseless system, which is basically just a dummy pickup under the
right,
pick guard,
right,
except that instead of like back when Stevie Ray used to do it, he was using a real pickup under the pick guard, which is like 6,000 ohms. So that can definitely change the tone of the guitar. So he used to turn the treble up quite a bit on his amps to make up for it.
right,
But with John's system, it's a dummy pickup, but it's only 200 ohms. So you just don't hear it at all. And all it does is just remove the hum without changing the tone. So you can use your real single coil pickups and no hum. And that's a real blessing because here in LA, the hum would be as loud as the note.
oh
It's
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's true just about everywhere.
crazy.
Yeah, that's true just about
There's all
everywhere.
this Wi-Fi and
Yeah,
cable, everything, radio
yeah,
signals in the
the
air, and
the
it's
the
yeah,
dynamic range gets shrunk
yeah,
to that, because you have to be X amount allowed to get over that and all that.
yeah. And plus, I just love the sound of his pickups. When I did the Dog Party album
Right,
and the and Tore Down House,
right,
um, I just used this really cheap Strat that I bought at a used guitar shop near Guitar Center in Hollywood, and that guitar sounded terrible. I only bought it because it was light, it was
Yeah.
lightweight, but it sounded really bad. But when on the Dog Party album, I put some Lindy Fralin Woodstock pickups in it,
Right.
and all of a sudden it's a new guitar. It sounded great. And for the Tore Down House album, I used John's V60 LP pickups. And it's amazing that, like the pickups, it's such a big part of the sound.
Yeah.
And
People don't, that you see a lot of discussion online about all that. And, I just have to not write anything. It's just going to get people upset,
yeah,
Just, nah.
yeah, I mean, people are very opinionated when it comes to tone, but
Well,
I
they,
just experienced it because I had a Strat that sounded awful, and I put two different sets of pickups in it, and the tone I got on Dog Party is a completely different type of tone than I got on Tore Down House. But that guitar sounds good, like it's a good sounding guitar that I only paid like $800.
love those guitars.
Got really made it come to life, and John's guitar, a combination of the lighter.
Well, we're losing you again, Scott.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, listen, man, thank you for being here.
Hey man, thank you for having me, and I'm so happy you're back and that you're feeling good. And
This is fun.
man,
I'm having a ball.
congratulations.
I'm having a ball doing this. So, Carnival, which came out on the 2nd of February, is available anywhere and everywhere, or is it through you, or how do we tell people to pick up their
Best way to
record?
get it is on Amazon.
Just
But if
Amazon.
you want to order, I should have told you this because this is good to know. If you want the 96K version, which is also mastered exactly like the CD, only it's 96K, so it sounds a little bit more 3D. It's kind of like the real deal. You
Right.
can get that on my website because that's just I just email you
Right.
the link and you can download it, and that's 96K. So if my listeners want to know what the difference is, man, 96 versus 44, it is not a contest. I mean, everybody says CDs sound great, and they do, but 96K is a whole other thing. It's like a big 3D image. It's pretty spectacular sounding and at 96K. It's really nice. So I'm selling that version. And then, if you want an autograph CD, I sell those too, though I don't recommend it because who cares about my name?
Somebody, hey,
Written with a Sharpie.
and then, and then, are you playing? You got any local touring, or are you playing any gigs anywhere?
No, the only gig that I have coming up is let me see what date this is. It's I'm gonna just check my email real quick. It is a fundraiser on June 20th at the Baked Potato. And let me tell you some of the people that are playing. It's pretty cool. It's a benefit for Joey Heredia.
Yeah.
Do you know who he is?
No.
Joey Heredia is a great drummer. He played on the Tribal Tech album, the purple one, our
Okay.
fourth record.
I knew he was a drummer, but that was about as far as I could get.
Yeah. So there's Billy Childs is playing, Mitch Foreman, Diane Reeves, Michael Ruff, Cecilia Noel.
Hey, do me a favor on that. Send me that link, and we'll
I will. Mike O'Neill's playing, guitar players. Brandon Fields is playing, Justin El Mario, Eric Jorgensen. There's a lot of, oh, wow. Peter Escovedo is playing. Pete Escovedo. A lot of players. Greg Bissonette. So anyway, that's the 20th at the Baked Potato. I'll send you that email.
Send me the thing.
Yeah, because Joey has come down with, I'm not sure if it's Parkinson's or a form of Parkinson's, but this is a benefit for him. And Joey's a good friend of mine. And actually, I saw him, I don't know, maybe a year ago at a gig that I played in Pasadena with Joel Taylor, and he looked fine.
Right.
I'm told that he's not playing and that, you know, that he has this and they're doing a benefit for him. So I was like really happy to be a part of it. So that's June 20th for everybody that lives in LA.
Yeah, I've got a fair amount of experience with the Parkinson's patients, so I
That my
understand.
dad died.
Okay, well then you know. Yeah.
So, you know,
Oops, we lost you again. You're for some reason you're coming on.
oh, sorry.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you, Bob. It's really, really good to see you, man.
Thank you, brother. Bob Bakert,
Okay.
Scott Henderson, Jazz Guitar Today. Pick up a copy of Carnival. You're gonna love it. And thanks a lot, brother.
Thank you, Bob.
See you,
See you
man.
soon, man.
All right, bye bye now.
Bye.